Coming up on Network Africa, a South African inquiry blames authorities in Johannesburg for deadly fire that killed over 70 people August last year. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov in Burkina Faso meets with military leader Ibrahim Traoré. Plus, a new study finds that the Earth is warming at a record rate as the UN marks World Environment Day. Hello and welcome to the program today. I'm Layo Olarinde. We begin in South Africa. A report into a building fire that killed 76 people in the country last year has concluded that city authorities should be held responsible because they were aware of serious safety issues at the rundown apartment block at least 4 years before the blaze. The deadly fire at the 5-story building in downtown Johannesburg on August 31st was one of South Africa's worst disasters. Many of the victims were burnt beyond recognition, having been trapped in the overcrowded building, and it took authorities weeks to identify bodies using DNA tests. A man was arrested in January, facing 76 counts of murder after confessing that he started the fire. Retired Judge C.C. Kampepe, in charge of the inquiry, delivered the first part of her report, concluding that the city of Johannesburg, which owns the building, had shown total disregard in its calamitous state. She has recommended that disciplinary action be taken against the chief executive officer of the Joburg Property Company, which oversees the city's buildings. She also says that the building should be demolished and a plaque erected as a memorial to the dozens of victims that died. Data from Statistics SA shows that South Africa's GDP declined by 0.1% in the first quarter. Power cuts and weak demand weighed heavily on the mining, manufacturing and construction sectors. The economy also contracted in the first quarter of this year, following marginal growth in the last quarter of 2023. Economist Elna Moolman suggests that addressing logistical constraints in the country through fiscal policies could serve as a means to protect the economy from further downturns.
The economy was significantly weaker in the first quarter of the year than we expected. If we look at it across the various sectors of the economy, then we see that more than half of the sectors contracted relative to the fourth quarter of last year. And even if we look at it on an expenditure basis, then we also see that this weakness was quite broad-based. There are mainly two reasons for this that need to be addressed if we want to see significantly better growth. Firstly, earlier this year, we still had significant pre-election uncertainty, and of course that uncertainty now continues as we wait for more clarity on the political landscape going forward. And secondly, we have persistent infrastructure constraints. In the first quarter of the year, we still had significant load shedding, indeed worse than the fourth quarter of last year, and ongoing logistical constraints, in other words, problems with railway and port operations. So if, as we go through this year, we see more certainty about the political landscape after the elections, and we continue to see progress in addressing the infrastructure constraints, then we should see a gradual improvement in GDP over the course of the year, and we'd expect to then also see stronger growth next year than this year or last year.
To environmental stories now, top scientists have revealed the Earth warming rate hit an all-time high in 2023, with 92% of last year's surprising record-shattering heat caused by humans. The group of 57 scientists from around the world used UN-approved methods to examine what's behind last year's deadly burst of heat. Even with a faster warming rate, the scientists say they don't see evidence of significant acceleration in human-caused climate change beyond increased fossil fuel burning. But last year's record temperatures were so unusual that the scientists have been debating what's behind the big jump and whether climate change is accelerating or if other factors are in play. Well, this study has been released as part of efforts to raise more awareness on the environment. Every June 5th is World Environment Day, and this year's campaign focuses on land restoration, desertification, and drought resilience. Under the slogan, Our Land, Our Future, we are #Generation Restoration. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is hosting the 2024 World Environment Day Global Celebrations. The day is observed across the globe to reinforce and sustain awareness around environmental action by encouraging sustainable habits, conserving resources, and promoting eco-friendly practices. All offices, schools, government, and other organizations, and also local bodies hold events to raise awareness about environmental causes and involve local people to tackle plastic pollution and also to take action to protect the environment for a healthy life. Well, we're discussing more on World Environment Day. Joining us now in the studio is Josephine Uber, a journalist and environmentalist and a co-founder of 1 Million Tree Initiative. Thank you so much for your time on Network Africa.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, let's talk about this year's campaign that's focusing on restoration, desertification, and drought resilience. How significant is this theme to us here in Africa, and especially here in Nigeria?
Yeah, thank you. From what you have read from the news, we know that the world is ticking. Time is ticking for the world. And there's almost no time left because of what man has done to himself. It is quite significant to us here in Nigeria and Africa in general because there's so much damage that has been done to the environment. Man has taken it upon himself to destroy what God has given to him. Apart from fossil fuel, apart from burning of bushes, apart from improper waste disposal, there's a whole lot of factors that is aggravating all of this, and it's all caused by man. So at the end of the day, we see that we have become a people who do not like where God has kept us. We do not like what God has given to us. This is the only habitat. Well, maybe there's another place, but for now, this is what we know. It is very significant to us because as I can tell you from statistics of the United Nations Convention on Climate Change and especially desertification, 40% of our land has been degraded by man, either by excavating the belly of the earth because we're looking for mineral resources, or we have done a lot to injure the lungs of the earth. You know what the lungs of the earth is? The environment is the lung of the earth. And if we can do that to earth, then we have no place to run to. We have no place to hide. And like Bob Marley says, when it rains, it doesn't rain on one man's roof. Climate change, the impact does not have any boundary. It affects the developing countries, developed countries, affects everyone. So we must do everything to restore our land. If 40% has been degraded, you know that we're sitting on a time bomb.
Well, hinging on some of those factors you mentioned, there are a number of environmental issues that are bedeviling our country and Africa as a whole, which contributes to many adverse effects that we see on a daily basis. So how can we stop it?
Yeah, we have a lot to do. We need to take our steps back. We need to do something fast. We need to help ourselves. We need to take very urgent steps because if we do not, I can tell you that if we do not double our steps and do something fast, all the infrastructural progress, economic progress that we have made will just go down the drain before our very eyes. And so we must change our lifestyle. We must make sure that we adopt sustainable practices. We must change our transportation. We must transform our energy. We must transform the way we live. It must start with us. We we must be able to work collectively as a people, as humans, to reduce and clean up the carbon footprints, because that's the most deadly. We must do everything to clean up our carbon footprints. We must work. We need to work. We cannot afford to live a docile lifestyle. We cannot afford to live like people who do not care about what the future holds for us. What happens to our future generation if we don't do anything fast? We must transform our energy. We must transform our lifestyle. We must transform our transportation. We must adopt sustainable practices in everything we do. We must take to renewable energy. We must stop burning down the trees. We must stop burning down the environment. We must stop burning down bushes. It is so unfortunate that every time Labour and the NLC have issues, it is the tires that bear the brunt. I don't understand whether the tires are employed by Nigerian government or by Labour. You see them, the moment it starts, they put up bonfires, and then you do not know that these things heat up the environment.
Yes.
They also cause what we call the global warming. I do not want to go using some very high sounding words. Let us situate it in our local environment and in our immediate place of dwelling.
Indeed. And so many people, they talking about the environment, many people say they don't care. Many people have a lackadaisical attitude towards the environment. So what would you suggest are the practical habits that we can adopt as individuals that would help the environment, in preserving the environment?
It must start with us in our very immediate homes. You must channel your waste properly to avoid environmental hazards to your life and to people around you. You must dispose your waste properly. You must not, you should reduce your, you should reduce what you use as fuel. You should walk, stop driving. You should walk. And so at that point, you'll be able to reduce the carbon footprints. Because that is part of what is ailing us. And look at today, all manner of ailments are everywhere. Can you imagine when people go in and then pour some manner of chemicals into the sea, into the waters, because they want to catch the fishes? When you buy fish today, if you do not cook it, if you do not get it well done, by tomorrow you almost have nothing, because you won't like what you see. Again, if you do not prepare your vegetables right on time, you see what happens to it. By tomorrow morning, it's all, giving way. So these are some of the things that we must do. We must change our lifestyle. We must change our lifestyle so that we can live, so that we can live healthy, so that we can see our tomorrow. And then we must start planting trees, because you cannot underestimate the gifts of nature.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that. I know you were out and about today planting trees, being World Environment Day. Do tell us, why that is so important.
Yeah, it is also very important for us to do it at 1 million tree initiative, because the focus is that someday, in years to come, we would have been able to inculcate the culture of people connecting to nature, people being able to just effortlessly plant trees, people understanding what the benefits of trees are. They are so immense. The benefits are so immense. When I was starting this project, a lot of people discouraged me, and it looked like, oh, Josephine, you have so much money now that you're just planting trees. You're no longer a journalist. I said, no, if only you understand what we're facing, but it needs somebody to start it.
Keep talking
about it. And today, it is about raising awareness. It is about bringing to people's consciousness the fact that we must plant these trees so that we can breathe well, so that we can live healthy, so that we can, in fact, some of the ones I plant, what really gives me joy in all of this is that I see people, it has made a very beautiful shade, and then you see people mechanics, vulcanizers, smallholders, shop owners. They have turned them into shops, and it really gladdens my heart. And that is why one of the quotes on tree planting and trees said that it is not he who plants the trees that sits under the shade. We must make effort to start planting trees. That way we can insulate our places of dwelling as city dwellers, because we are worse hit. You can imagine the level of heat.
Yes.
Right now. Yes. Even when it rains, it doesn't bring down the temperature. And if it goes beyond 1.5 Celsius, then we're finished. So I'm not a prophet of doom, but I think that time is ticking for us.
Planting trees, that's one thing I will pick out from our conversation, and we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much, Josephine Uba, journalist and co-founder of 1 Million Tree Initiative. Thank you for your thoughts on our program.
Thank you for having me, and have a very green day.
Have a green day to you as well.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the program. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov continues his tour on the continent with his next port of call at Burkina Faso. That's the third leg of his trip. Mr. Lavrov has held talks with Foreign Minister Karamoko Jean-Marie Traoré, and he also met with the military leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, in Ouagadougou. Footage from the capital is showing the captain entering the room and welcoming the Russian delegation, after which the politicians begin their meeting. According to the Russian Foreign Ministry's press service, Mr. Lavrov, who is visiting the country for the first time, was presented with Burkina Faso's highest state honor following the talks. Well, before arriving in Burkina Faso, the foreign minister met with Congolese President Denis Sassou Nguesso on the second leg of his Africa tour. High on the agenda was the political crisis in Libya. President Sassou Nguesso is the chair of the African Union High-Level Committee on Libya and is seeking to organize an inter-Libyan summit. Earlier, Congo's top diplomat Jean-Claude Gagoso held a presser in Oyo with the Russian foreign minister, and Brazzaville is calling for a negotiated end to the war in Ukraine. At the end of Mr. Lavrov's working visit, Moscow and Brazzaville reaffirmed their commitment to increase mutually beneficial cooperation between both countries. Well, earlier this week, he began his visit in Guinea, meeting with his counterpart, Foreign Minister Maurice Sanda Kouyaté. According to Guinea's government, the meeting was to discuss areas of mutual cooperation without elaborating further. By a military junta since 2021, Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya seized power, saying he was preventing Guinea from slipping into chaos, and accused the previous government of broken promises. In February, the military leaders dissolved the government without explanation, saying a new one will be appointed. It was Mr. Lavrov's first working visit to Guinea since 2013. And analysts say Moscow is seeking to boost its influence in Africa, especially after its relations with the West plummeted since invading Ukraine in February 2022. Joining us now is Yusuf Ba, Guinean freelance investigative journalist from Conakry. Hello, Yusuf. Thank you so much for your time on the program. What more can you tell us about the discussions that were made between the Russian foreign minister and Guinean leadership, the specifics, and probably the agreements made on Monday? Hello, Yusuf. If you can hear me, I was asking what more you can tell us about the meeting between the foreign minister of Russia and Guinean leadership on Monday when he arrived in the country.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to talk to you. Yes, first of all, When the Russian foreign minister came to Guinea, he was received by the Guinean foreign minister. And after a brief meeting, before ever they met with the president, but actually the discussion with the Russian foreign minister, Mr. Lavrov, putting special envoy in Conakry, during the meeting with the head of the Guinean head of state, they discussed about, about the mining activities. Russia have one of the biggest mining company, Rusal, in Guinea. They discussed about mining activities and other relations or other businesses, cooperation between Guinea and Russia. But don't forget, Russia is an old friend of Guinea. And this is not the first time for the foreign minister of Russia to come to Guinea. He was here about 10 years ago. During the discussion, according to the Minister of Guinean Foreign Minister, Mr. Maurice Kouyaté, in the press briefing, told us that Guinea remains an open sovereignty country, but one that cooperates with everyone. Anybody who wants to come to Guinea, Guinea can cooperate with them. Because the head of the Guinean diplomacy specified that the head of state also assured that Guinea remains a friend of the Russian Federation. Because Guinea have been accepting Russia. And don't forget, during Ebola, Russia was the first country to give the Sputnik vaccine to Guinea. By the time President Alpha Conde was in power, in fact, he received the first vaccine. So the president actually showed his commitment, and that Guinea has the right to readjust any agreement with any country or anybody who wants to do business in Guinea. So these are some of the things they talk about.
Now, we know the African Union and several African countries opposed Russia's stance back when it invaded Ukraine. More than half of African countries, including Guinea, abstained from UN resolutions calling for withdrawal of Russian troops. And, you've just mentioned that Russia is an old friend of Guinea. But what does this say about the relations between both countries?
Yes, indeed, several African countries and the African Union did oppose Russia's stance when they started to invade Ukraine. And most African countries, including Guinea, abstained themselves from the United Nations resolution calling for a withdrawal of Russian troops. But don't forget, even that Guinea have been a friend of Russia for a very long time, for more than 50 years. The Russian government have been operating in Guinea bauxite sector for a very, very long time. It's just when the war started in Ukraine with all these other sanctions that lead to the company to stop operation. But even that, they have started selling some bauxite to the Chinese, I think. But the relationship with Guinea and Russia is very, very tight, and they have been training Guinea military, supplying Guinea weapons, supplying Guinea military equipment for a very, very long time. The relationship have been with Russia for a very long time, since late President Sékou Touré came into Alpha Conde, Lansana Conte. All these people have been working with Russia. So the relationship is very strong. But that does not mean, according to President Mamadou Doumbouya, that does not mean that Guinea cannot abstain himself from anything they don't want, or nobody can control Guinea. It's a sovereign state. Guinea has the right to support or not to support. So I think Guinea still stands with what the United Nations resolution called for. They actually stand by themselves. They stand on what they decide and what they plan. They are not going to change their mind despite the relationship with the Russian government.
Then thank you so much, Yusuf Bah, Guinean journalist joining us there from Conakry. Finally, on the program, the UN peacekeeping mission in South Sudan is supporting a 5-day workshop at the Juba National Prison on managing and maintaining prison security. This, it says, it's part of its larger mandate to protect civilians, supporting the rule of law actors by building capacities among prison officials. Prison officers received hands-on training, as you can see, to control crowds, prevent riots, and also provide life-saving interventions during emergencies. Such initiatives aim to enable prison officers to provide professional services to inmates and communities by improving skills and creating conditions for successful prisoner reintegration upon completion of their sentences.
When these people are trained well, equipped with the necessary skill, they can protect themselves and protect the institution and to prevent the escape of the prisoners.
We hope that in the future we will be see the impact for our work that will be shown on the ground, and to see the NBSSS officers that to do these things, these trainings by themselves, and to see South Sudan also improve by safe and security.
That's it on the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde.